Welcome to another start of a week in Star Citizen. We may have live this week. We have downs. We have ups. We have the PTU open to all waves. We have a brand new patch I'm going to go over. We have some new bugs to experience and some old bugs that we thought we had sorted. So there's some interesting things here. So I'm going to start with this week in Star Citizen. I'm going to kind of see how far we get, and hopefully my screen doesn't lock up. So it's going to be great. So today there was posted up this week in Star Citizen. If you notice, the lead-in is a very important topic, and you're going to see this a couple times. I'm going to be talking about that this week. They're currently working on a nasty bug triggering an error 30,009 code. So a lot of us are used to what they call 30K errors, which can be a combination of different things, server side, client side, even just how you have your game configured, even just simple things like the amount of RAM you have can cause a buffer flow and things like that you just say 30K and then it crashes out. We've seen less and less of those. And now we're seeing a new bug that's in the 30,000 series that's a 30,009 code. So what they're yet again asking for as many people as possible to file their issues with the issue council, and they're trying to keep track of that issue. So this week we're going to have the narrative team posting up a new Galactopedia, and it's kind of a weird situation. So Galactopedia update, they are not mentioning what these are. The last time I did this, I really enjoyed going through it. I'll put the video in the card at the end of this video. But I really enjoyed the heck out of going through a lot of the old Galactopedia updates. And particularly the Nix system had a lot of changes to it. And we were having fun theory crafting about, like, is that going to bring something up for Nix? And I think it was like 2 weeks later, they had the first of the booty call video lore posts from this pirate radio station, basically, that's in Nix. But it was a text-based lore post that's talking about the Stanton pirate situation, Pyro pirate situation, and obviously it's based in Nix. But they did most of their focus on Stanton. I think that's because that's where the players are. It's where the action is. It's where most of the lore is solid, and it hinted at a few different things, including that Stanton is going to have a crime wave. So that was kind of fun to add some flavor to the upcoming Xeno threat and NT lockdown type situations that are going to be part of the game. So very exciting stuff. I'm very interested in it to see if they're going to do a whole bunch like they did last time. It seemed to be fast and furious with the Galactopedia the last go around, so hopefully we'll have a big post. And if you notice, they're not like saying we're going to update Galactopedia about this specific system. So hopefully we'll have more of that stuff that'll flesh out some of the existing systems around us, systems in the game, ships in the game, also all sorts of interesting little tidbits that were added to Galactopedia. I know I sound like I'm hyping it, but it's as hypey as lore can get. I mean, it's still lore, but at the same time, it's these little things that really give nuance to the game and can let us read into what, smaller changes that are going to be upcoming and why things are the way they are. Like example, one of my favorite lore posts was the story of the UEES Flyza and about its crash, how a Javelin class destroyer ended up in a wreck in Stanton. Very fascinating story about trying to basically take care of these miners that were mining illegally, and a whole mess, and a lot of ambitious leadership making the wrong decision. Very, very cool story. So Wednesday, we'll have a roadmap alongside a roadmap roundup. So they're going to update the roadmap, which is nice, and they're going to have a roadmap roundup, which is also nice. So they'll have a post that'll explain a lot of the changes on the roadmap. This should be fun. So hopefully I'll make a video that'll kind of dig through the changes to the roadmap, what CIG's take is to those changes, and then also how does this, I'll try to analyze that historically about what those changes will look like, and then we'll have the fun part of the storyline, if you stay tuned to the end, where we'll do some theory crafting about what would be next. How's this going to look for 3.14 live, 3.14.1 that's likely going to eventually happen, or, micro patches on 3.14, and then finally, what is going to be bolted or booted back to 3.15, with the healing mechanics, the Apollo, and such like that. Hopefully we can see some guarantees on 3.15. I'm hoping that not too much stuff is taken out of 3.14. And I'm very curious to hear if they are going to acknowledge that, hey, we're probably going to have a 3.14.1 in the interim between these two major patches to get some things in. Like, for example, the Stormwall whales and the whale sanctuary would be a good example of that type of stuff. And I've maintained that that's a big part of a lot of different things, mainly because the storm walls would be the first wildlife we have in the game that had its own AI, it's its own place. And once again, there's only a few of them. So that'd be a huge impact, huge animals, literally huge, and also huge emotionally. And I think physically tie the space together around Orison in a good way without having to have herds and herds of a type of creature, which would certainly in the server's certain current state create a problem. But if there's just a few of these creatures, these beautiful huge creatures flying around in through the clouds, I think that wouldn't be too bad. But that's just me. I'm just a layman. Take it what you will. Thursday, see a return of the weekly episodic behind-the-scenes star series Inside Star Citizen. This week's ISC is a look at the current progress of the loot generation system for the Persistent Universe and an all VFX special edition sprint report. That is actually pretty cool, especially on the heels of the coverage of a lighting discussion where we had a Star Citizen team come in that was the lighting artists. So they are the folks that paint the rooms. They do not make the tools. They are given a task. They are given how much resources they have to get that task done, and they properly light rooms. And in a lot of cases now, they're doing these dual states where systems are powered down or at sleep mode, kind of thing, versus like task lighting that you would use in a normal day-to-day. So that was pretty cool to see them paint those habs. On this channel specifically, I'm going to be making a video when 3.14 goes live. And at this point, I'm thinking there's probably going to be two guest hosts kind of wandering in and out of different pieces that they feel comfortable with. And we're going to be basically making maybe even 2 videos about lighting testing and then lighting where we're going with Star Citizen. And I'd love to tie together some discussion about Unity experiences I've had, which is kind of like, it's in the same wheelhouse as what we're seeing coming out with Lumberyard and the Maya tools they have over on the Star Citizen side with their tech that was descendant from a company that must not be named. But the Unity engine is close to it, and that's the one I and a few of my friends have experience with as community developers on VR games like VR Chat. So I wanted to kind of show you a little bit behind the scenes, literally show the screen grabs of what they were working on, and then show you how you would go about making that yourself and how we could do something, a little different and have some fun with it. If this was a cartoony style game or if this was a game that was more maybe even horror, or we were trying to go for that Blade Runner aesthetic 100%. I think we can have a lot of fun with this and show you the true power of shaders and how things could be. And they may or may not in the future of Star Citizen, depending on how they truly want to lay down their resources. So once again, I'd like to have some fun with that, and I might even break the video into 2 pieces to really build it out. But I'm waiting for 3.14 live because we're having a patch pretty much every 24 hours right now. And at any moment, they could descend on 3.14 live, and then all this work I'd have to go out of my way to put over text over every single piece. Like, is this live? Is this not? Which patch? Oh, no, this was N, this was O, this was L. It's just not practical, and it's not as stable. Although I will say most of the PTUs I've been on this week have been pretty stable. So finally, on Friday, you will see an update on the Subscriber Vault and the RSI newsletter that you will get in your inbox. We'll also welcome a new Star Citizen Live episode, which will broadcast on the Twitch channel. And if you notice, they are not talking about who the guest hosts are yet. Sometimes they tease the guest host on their, I think, Jared's Twitch. So that's kind of an interesting side to this, that you will have these posts teased on Spectrum or teased on even Twitter that have like these tiny coming up on Star Citizen or Inside Star Citizen or Star Citizen Live. So-and-so's coming along. And when these don't have anything at all, it interests me a lot. One note to mention, if you haven't already experienced these videos, They are on Twitch, but if you don't like Twitch, or if you're not happen to be home, or you're busy working or at school or whatever you're doing, you can catch these on YouTube. They put them up a few hours afterwards, and they're usually cleaned up a little bit because Twitch has like this live streaming. You've seen, if you've watched some of my videos, you've seen the live Twitch screw up a lot. To be honest, that's how it is with these type of live videos, especially if there's a lot of remote uplinks, where you could have a studio a guest from Germany, a guest from England, and a guest from Texas, and then it's being hosted in California. So you've got every corner of the Western world, put into this pocket. It can be a little daunting, especially when you're talking about high quality video streaming, and audio too has to be perfect and synced up and this and that. So different kind of experience when you watch Twitch, but it is fun to see the active community posting, and you can participate as well. You can put up your own questions. You put up bracket, and you can ask a question, and you probably will have to post it 20 times to get an answer. Not obviously in sequential, but every few minutes. When Jared has time to ask them towards the end of the videos is usually the way you can sneak those in. There's also always on Spectrum I think it's in the general forum, a place you can post up questions for the upcoming jobs. But if they're one of these where they don't announce who's on there, what's the point? Until it gets, I guess, closer. Well, maybe we'll find out then. I will also say Star Citizen Live, they have in the past sprung things in the middle of the week that are supposed to be surprises, like a new ship, a new patch, whatever it is. And then they talk about it on the live show. That's another reason they don't want to say who is in there. They might not know if it's a success yet. They may not know what their battle plan is for the rest of the week. Based on the successes or failures of the early week, they'll have the momentum or not momentum to know who to pull for different things. The CitizenCon video contest is worth mentioning. I think it's only like 45-second long videos they're looking for that are high-quality renders. There's a whole bunch of rules attached, but it is only 45-second video. So, obviously, I myself would not be involved. I spoke with the Division's crew and also the content. So there is the Star Citizen content creator Discord that also is excited about getting some of their combined efforts out there. So stay tuned for that. If the Citizens Content Creator Discord or Divisions team or both create little things for this, hopefully once they go live with them, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'll love to cover that and talk with the teams and how they made their things. And who knows, I might even be able to sneak myself on for a cameo. Who knows? Or at least be able to help with a camera work or something on one of them. For those who want to prepare for significant challenges in combat, you can take a look at Star Citizen Live. Oh, I apologize. So they are covering what they're covering in Star Citizen Live. It's with the vehicle experience team. I apologize greatly for that. This is kind of weird. Usually on these, they have the actual content schedule, the community content schedule, and then up here, they have the explanation. I thought I caught all the headlines up here, but I missed this one greatly. I missed a very important one snuck between two things that were important, but not as important as this. So the Star Citizen Live on Friday is going to be the PTU Alpha 3.14 build combat changes with the vehicle experience team. I would not put stock into that, like, oh, there's not going to be a 3.14 live anytime this week because they said that, although that is interesting to note. I think that the significant changes in combat for both the PTU 3.14s and 3.14 live are all the same discussion. As a reminder, there's a whole bunch of threads about patch watches and other fun stuff to keep an eye out for in the Spectrum general. To give feedback about all sorts of things: ship maneuverability, ship weapons and shields, capacitor discussion. There's one for every single flavor. Please go in there, give your feedback, upvote those who you agree with. Go into sort by new, especially. That's a great way to do things because the newer patches are going to have that. Speaking of newer patches, let's just jump right into that. Okay, so we are now on PTU 3.14.0. Oh. has been released in the PTU environment. It is audience is all backers. Interestingly, on the back end, the first time they posted this, they called it. I'm not sneaking around. I'm literally just looking at what they originally posted, and then it got caught in the aggregators and such and posted on the random discords. It's not me trying to do any sneaky stuff. Uh, it was originally Wave 3, it was listed as, but then they clarified it to all backers. And that the distinction here is not as important as you think. So if you see all backers, be sure to just take that with a grain of salt. If you see Wave 3, it's the same thing. All backers is Wave 3, and Wave 3 is all backers. And I'll show you at the end why I say that. But for now, this is important. When you're this setting here is for if you have a desync issue and you're trying to capture the video of it, be sure to hit that tilde key and go in there and change this setting, the session display session info. That's just important for them so they can see some more information about why you're having a crash. This right here, that if you're having problems, delete your user folder. Once again, it's in the PTU side. If you don't have this exact build, I've showed it a few times now. You go into the Star Citizen loader in the top right corner, hit the farthest to the right. I think it's the settings button. It'll show you where your file path is. So if you don't have it in the C drive or don't have it listed as program file /RSI, Robert Space Industries /Star Citizen /PTU, you can find where your Star Citizen /PTU is. Do not delete it from live. Do not delete anything ever from live if you can avoid it. The idea is that live needs to be pristine, and you never ever cut and paste things from the PTU over to live, especially if you're on a metered internet connection or a slow internet connection. Trust me on this. Just don't do that. I've been there, done that. My early days of Star Citizen, I did not have the best internet, and I've been there, done that. Even on hangar builds, they were big and made some mistakes. The testing focuses are basically staying the same. The Orison landing zone is supposedly had that fix, but I was just on there this morning for a few minutes, and there was somebody complaining that they were out 500,000 kilometers above Orison, and they still couldn't warp. But they said, interestingly, they warped in and then attempted to warp back out and then stopped the warp. So I think whatever they used to fix this may get glitched out by you trying to be too clever. So my suggestion to you right now is Orison, for those who weren't aware, had a block that would not allow you to warp, like as if you were in Atmo, high Atmo, until 750,000 kilometers. And basically the only real solution was to scroll wheel all the way up. Just keep scrolling so you go fast as possible. Hold down the W key and then hit C for cruise control. And if you have a HOTAS, you're going to have to figure that out. If you're going to add cruise control as one of your settings, or if you already did, good. If you don't, keep the keyboard handy, whatever you got to do. And once you have cruise control on, you can pretty much just, you have to sit there for like a minute or two, and then it finally gets through it all. It's a pain. It's not fun, especially on a slower ship. It'll take way longer than that. And they said they fixed it. I've tested it, and it worked for me. I've talked with some folks, and I happened to be on a server where somebody had landed and then attempted to warp and then cut their engines or something, where like they cut the power to the whole ship or cut the warp in some way where they instantly came back out of warp. At least that's what they said. And they said they were like about 500,000+ kilometers out after they did that. And then they tried to warp again and it wouldn't let them. And they had to go the original 750,000 kilometers before they could finally warp out. They said that then they confirmed they could. I did not visually see this happen, but I am willing to believe them that if there was an Orison issue where you couldn't warp to 750,000 kilometers and multiple times, multiple patches, they couldn't fix this until this most recent patches. I am willing to believe this fella that this is what occurred to him. So my suggestion is, regardless if it's true or not or whatever, it's just one example. It could be a very low occurrence rate. Be very gentle with the warping. Determine your exit point. get to your height, get to 150K or whatever it is, warp out, quantum out. And then if you're coming into Orison, be sure you want to go to Orison, quantum in, and then slow boat the last bit in. Don't get clever. Don't try to warp quantum in and then stop or mess with your stuff to try to, oh, I didn't mean to go there. Don't do any of that. That's my suggestion. That's all I'm saying. Just determinedly go, leave, and come back if you need to. I haven't had any issues. I tested it twice. Didn't seem to have an issue. I had other people who said the same thing. They haven't had any issues. So one issue so far with the Orson. The reason I'm spending so much time on that is it's a big issue. I mean, up until now, I was recommending people go to Lorville, Area 18, as some of the places that are worth mentioning. New Babbage is a bad idea only because it's so far away from everything else. If you're anything small, you're going to be quantum tanked out by the heavily even a medium ship. It's going to suck up a lot of your time and your quantum of your gameplay time. Unless you're doing stuff in New Babbage. And the action, by the way, for Xenothreat last weekend was over above Crusader L1. And I believe it's called Ambitious Dream Station, was the biggest one hit. The other Lagrange points around Crusader were the primary targets as well. I was only able to take part in one box move, and the server was... I'm not going to use the word destabilized. I had to cut my video in order to stay good, though. And this is a trend that seems to be happening with these PTUs, where I'm fine. I go to try to get any video at all, and everything's fine, and then it's not. So it's been very frustrating, especially because I don't want to show like 2 minutes video out of nowhere with no context that's not exciting in any way. And it's just, because there's no story. There's no nothing. I mean, I guess if it was something cool, I mean, if it was a big javelin shooting at everything, then we're trying to defend it or whatever for the part of the CDF forces and the UEE supporting us, like that'd be awesome. Like at least then I got some action shots. But I'll be brutally honest with you, I didn't get one this weekend. Between 12-hour shifts and coming home and then being able to actually try to play, I was jumping servers so much so I met a couple folks from Australia. Ended up doing some box runs with them just out of boredom, trying to hope that they hopefully in different weird time zones, for me at least they're weird, different, unique, that maybe we would get lucky because seemed to be random procs of Xenothreat kicking in the European time zone, and then they just stopped as well. So the Americans one stopped, and the Euros stopped, it seemed, which didn't make any sense to me either, but that's the way it went, apparently. And then I figured, well, maybe I'll take a shot. So that's how I ended up on an Australian server. And interestingly enough, when I joined the Australian server, there seemed to be a party that just kind of adopted me. When I saw that ASOP terminal, I'm like, okay, let's do this. I got nothing else to do while waiting, and sure enough, the contracts for the incident never came. So if you're not familiar with Xenothreat, there's going to be this, I'll call it creative storytelling, where there's this character, she comes out of nowhere into your vision. And she's explaining to you how there's this major problem. We need to move all these boxes, or we desperately need your help. Anakin, save us. You're the only one. Obi-Wan, Kenobi. And then you go into your contracts, and there's like these urgent contracts from the CDF. You accept them, and then you have to warp long distances unless you're already at Crusader. And you go to the station, and then the station is basically issuing them, I think. I don't really know. I was in the party for the one thing I was doing when I was running boxes. So I can't really... So anyway, this is just as much as a confusing thing as I can possibly explain. But the best gist I can understand is there's multiple phases to this thing, and it's all based on players. If you don't bother to run the boxes, you're not going to be able to do the exciting stuff where the big ships fight. It's imperative that you do the other things as well. And at least there's two phases, as I can gather. Phase one is the box run. Phase two is the fight. And I don't think it's that simple. And this isn't me trying to hide you from spoilers. I just genuinely don't know enough about this brand new Xenothreat stuff because it's completely changed from the previous one. I will say there is an actual lockdown. There is station that is like that station is like just you, unless you have friends, you can't really hang out at that station anymore. But it was very short. It was less than an hour, from what I heard when I was talking with people that actually got to do some of the fighting scenes. I guess we'll see. I'm waiting constantly. I'm going to be pouncing on any new test of Xenothreat. I want to actually get it on video. I want to cover it and like the steps. So please stay tuned for that. But for now, 3.14.0 has a lot of things added back as known issues. So we can, you have the editing the PMA, the changing the mobiGlas case prevents mobiGlas functionality. Distortion weapons are bugged against larger ships. So you know what that means. Missiles do not follow flares as a countermeasure. Once again, that's still an issue. And I was just talking with somebody about this. We really need to fix this before 3.14 live. Plain and simple. This has been something that's followed through from a few different patches. Hell, I think all of them for PTU. Missiles can hit the player's ship when they are fired whilst the ship is moving forward. Maybe that's a desync issue. I don't know quite. Oh, the ship itself, I think. When you're firing, if you're moving too fast forward, if you fire a missile and the missile's not fast enough, or maybe it takes a second to load or something, you can actually get hit by your own missile. That's not good. I think that's what I'm reading out of that. Various UI markers are faded and hard to read, but that's the story of Star Citizen. Security ships do not recognize illegal goods on board a ship when being carried by a player. Okay, time to get your slam on. Ships are not fully repaired after repairing / fueling them in VMS. That's a big problem because they're not giving you back your full ship most of the time now, especially with the ammunition changes coming in. They better get all those services sorted. Those services need to be rock solid at every single station, even to the point they should just disable stations if they don't have all their services available, because people are trusting those services now more and more. Some players are reporting that they are unable to select a system and may require an account recopy, as well as logging fully out of the launcher and logging back in, possibly deleting the user folder. We've already talked about this, about the user folder, but I'll go through it one more time. The user folder is the one in the PTU. Do not delete your live user folder. If you, for whatever reason, can't find your user folder in here, you can always copy it over from the live, but do not do it the other way around. And the user folder can be fully deleted and in the PTU side, and they will put a new user folder in. As a reminder, you can go into your loader, top right corner, you go to settings, you can find your file path if it isn't this exact file path. Like if you don't have it on your C drive, like you have a games hard drive, especially a special SSD for your games or something like that. So understand that this is not just for this specific file path, that issue. So you can use that. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna have a link to two really cool updated text. I didn't think they were gonna be that interesting, but I actually learned something from them, and I think we can all learn something from them. But let's just finish up this patch notes real quick. Reduced overheating across all thrusters, adjusted shield absorption scaling for all damage types, fixed heat issues with some energy weapons, tweaked Hurricane's health points. Hurricane's been really buffed hard. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerfed the Hurricane's health points a little bit. It has a lot of damage right now. People are calling it the mini hammerhead at the moment. Updated shield regen on MSR and some dropships, corrected MPUV speeds. That's a shame if they nerfed the MPUV. Missile operator mode polish pass. So they polish pass on assisted gimbal and missile cone AI. Add warning messages for missile mode when missile is too close or too far to lock. Good idea. Very good idea for this, to get people more familiar with the missiles. And also in the heat of the moment, if you're in a fight with a PvE or PvP situation, you don't have time to do some math in your freaking head It's good when the UI can give you little, hey, buddy, wait, just wait, you're too far away, or hey, you're too close. Even if it's just a simple thing, we're gonna have to test that. We're gonna have to see how that looks, and it might just be as simple as like a red X or something. Like you can't send it yet, and then the circle when you're can fire, and it's or it might actually literally tell you you're too close or too far. I don't know. Adjusted friendly fire thresholds. I'm guessing they brought them down slightly because it's been a kind of a mixed bag. For many patches, you could even be partied up and you drive your vehicle into the bottom of somebody's Connie or into the back of their Max, and you get like a crime stat, because you've damaged their ship. And then in recent patches, friendly fire is basically non-existent. Um, there's got to be a balance somewhere, because you're going to have griefers that are going to join people's parties just to shoot at them, and there's going to be a lot of griefing and things, especially with when we go from the time to kill discussion, like many devs have already pointed out, we're going to time to disable. So if somebody can friendly fire off half your weapons, half your engines, and then drop party and run away after their friends get there, and then they don't get listed as part of the criminal activity, that's gonna be a problem. If they're a wolf in sheep's clothing type situation. So just a thought. Obviously, it is up to you, and it is your responsibility to be careful with who you make friends with. It is still an alpha after all, though. It is still a PTU, and if you're in the PTU. So my suggestion is, if you're going to take risks and you want to meet new people, PTU is the best place ever, especially Orison right now, where it's just mob with folks. If something goes wrong, you just laugh about it in your backspace. This is the time. It is risk-free, other than waiting for your ship to respawn. And oh, by the way, because it's the PTU, and right now, like every dang ship imaginable, aside from the RSI ones, is available, whether you have it or not. So, once again, you're not going to be waiting long, unless you wanted that specific ship. And you can expedite it with your 15 mil they give you for free in that test server, by the way. But anyway, fixed an issue with Crusader's Atmosphere. We already talked about this. Fixed an issue that caused players to receive the 16,008 error constantly on loading in. I haven't heard about this one, but that sounds very frustrating. Fixed an issue causing shields to get hit multiple times on a single distortion explosion. That probably goes into that adjustment of distortion on large ships. Distortion weapons are bugged against large ships. As a known issue. Fixed an issue causing the shields to get hit multiple times on a single distortion explosion. I cannot imagine why distortion weapons are bugged against large ships when you've nerfed their explosion distortions. Players should no longer sometimes see black squares instead of smoke, clouds, and fog. That's good. Synced assassination missions objectives should no longer spawn extremely close to each other. Dang. Used to be a nice twofer. Fixed an issue causing players not be able to stand up from new Babbage tram seats. Oh, that would be a rough way to go. Have to backspace out of them. Fix 2 client crashes and a main thread deadlock fix. So a couple good fixes there, a couple good bug fixes. Once again, Crusader, specifically Orison, leaving Crusader's Atmo and coming in, used to be 750k. They fixed that. Anecdotally, I've heard that if you mess with your warp and with your quantum travel, and then you try to do something again, you'll still have to drop to 750k. So just be careful, be very determined physically. Just let your quantum in or quantum out, at the normal heights. So just keep that in mind. I think it's like 145k or 150k or something. I don't know, because you start at 80. I think it's 80, 81. So that's it for the Alpha PTU 13.14.0 and this week in Star Citizen. Some very exciting stuff. And then finally, I wanted to wrap this video up with the PTU FAQ and PTU install guide that have been updated. So I've said many times that if there's a resource available that can help you or your friends or your org mates, and it's great, I'm going to provide it. I'm going to make sure that I build you guys up and gals. I want to be sure that the community as a whole is able to do great things. And I want to see you all get on the PTU if you don't. That's why I made a whole video called "Get on the PTU." I think it only has 100 views. And this is another way to get people the information they need. They have recently updated the in-game, well, the website-based support for in-game stuff, such as the PTU. And this is the process that you can see. It's all text with some links. And I like that you have some things. For example, when you copy your account over, I mentioned in my video that you would hit this button and then just ignore it. Like, just go ahead and install the PTU if you haven't already started that process. And by the time you're pretty much done installing the couple gigs of the PTU, because how I explained how you copy over your live, you'll be ready to go in. Well, this is more detailed. It's like, look, you're going to get the email from this email address and with this subject line. Expect that, servers in high demand request the email may be delayed on arrival. And it also is cool because if you're wondering, hey, you told me to just hit copy and it's not working and my email doesn't show it. Well, you can look for this. You can search by this email address. It might be stuck in your spam folder. It might be that you just didn't get it yet. It's nice to have a little deeper information, especially if you're the kind of person that has the two screens running and you want to have something literal step by step sitting on the other screen where you can do this right. So I like this as a resource. I like that you can share this. No, I don't get anything out of this, and I'm just doing this because I want to see y'all enjoy the PTU as much as I do, and just join in the happiness that you can certainly hear in my voice of the PTU. It is a bitter, and I mean that in a weird way. I really do mean it. It's a bittersweet experience, and you should at least a few times jump in the PTU, get your feet wet. Remember, you don't have to keep it forever. Just because you have that PTU file install does not mean you have to keep it forever. You're like, oh my goodness, I got like 70 gigs worth of PTU data. Well, guess what? First of all, when the PTU is over, I delete the entire PTU folder. I literally just delete everything in it. I usually leave the actual folder that says PTU, but everything else gets deleted because it's useless now to me. When 3.14 live goes, the whole PTU folder is going to get dumped. The only thing I'll have left of it is my memories and my videos. And that's it from the PTU. And a few friends I frantically dropped down because that's another thing. If you have people you meet in the PTU, be sure to get their names if you want to keep in touch, because in the live side, you won't have them. Remember, you're on a copy of yourself. You're like in the Matrix when you're in the PTU. It's just a copy. It's deja vu situation. You have everything you would have, but it's not you. It's a copy of you. And that's a weird thing. It took me a while to figure that out myself. So specifically, if you make new friends, be sure to jot down their names or you'll forget that you'll never see them again, which is a shame. Unless you remember them and run into them on Spectrum or in the live some miracle way. But long story made short, I also like this little banner here. I do not know if they're going to keep up with this right here. This whole PTU status, all backers, 3.14.0. If you notice, it doesn't actually say PTU O. It just says 0, not 0. So I think they're purposely doing that because there's so many patches that they probably definitely, this thing will go out of date in like a second. And then live status 13.13.1. Sorry, 3.13.1. Anyway, step-by-step process, new page, really cool. In support of this page, and it also gives you the feedback forum and discuss issues and questions. And then on the other page they updated was the PTU FAQ. And remember, I'm going to have all this in below, but I just wanted to walk through it for a second. This just has questions about the PTU. What exactly is that crazy Evo/Evocati thing I hear about once in a while, and etc. And the process of how the literal questions you may have and how you can access things, such as you need a game packer, you need to own a game package for a this and that. A pledge for a standalone ship or ship/weapon skin will not work. To be considered a backer, your account must have a monetary pledge to support the game, an RSI account. So they explain some of those things as well to help you get into the PTU and understand that you need to be a backer, you need to have a game package, you need to have those things sorted. Interestingly as well, they also have this one little section that taught me something I didn't know. Uh, Here, PTU invite waves. Evocati, which is the smallest test group. They're the people that sign an NDA, and they get put in this. I think they're called strike teams now, from what I heard through the rumor mill, and they're tasked with very specific jobs. And as I think even this questionnaire tells you, it's like they're not ready for normal PTUs. Like they're really buggy, and they're really, like the tightest of tight things, and you can't tell any of your friends about the cool stuff you're seeing. Then there's the subs and concierge wave. So people who are current subscribers and people who are concierge. So all RSI accounts that are active subscribers and all of our concierge members will be invited to join the PTU testing after we have opened this wave. This is sometimes referred to as wave one, as in every single time they post a patch notes, where they put up any information in the forums or the Spectrum chat rooms and stuff. They call them these waves. It's funny how they say sometimes it's referred to as wave one. It is the wave one. so so just keep this in mind, that if you're a subscriber, for maybe just a month, you can get all the flair you were looking for, all the cool things you've seen people running around with, or stuff you want to, pick up for friends, maybe even as Christmas presents. Something I do a couple times. I've been doing the past few Christmases, is picking up just little flair items and giving them out to workmates. I don't know. Take it what you will. To me, it's the same as giving somebody a $5 card to go buy a cup of coffee or something. It's something nice, it's just a little perk. But anyway, subscriber is something that is very useful tactically. And I would mention for content creators, if you want to cover the PTU in any way, shape, or form, and you don't have a lot of money invested, you could have a starter pack, for goodness sake. Just have a starter pack. You can just become a sub for the month. And there you go. You've got all the content you want. So bear that in mind. I believe you do need to be a subscriber before they start going through all these patch iterations at this breakneck speed. I don't know how often they update that list, and if you would be considered wave one, if like you pick up the subscription like a couple days before the major patch. It would probably be best to do this while this is there's starting to be rumbles of a PTU. It's established. Bam, join the subs. Active participation wave. All members of the previous waves, plus any players that have been very active and involved in the issue council, plus players with the highest amount of playtime across all game modes. This group is sometimes referred to as Wave 2. So people that are in Star Marine, people that are in Arena Commander, and in the future, people that are in Theaters of War. Theaters of War, if it takes off in any way, you're suddenly going to have a pile of people from Wave 2 that are like just FPSers, which is kind of funny when you think about it. And also space sim shooters, technically, because they do have spaceships in that game, but it's in a very tight game mode. Should be interesting. But the gist here is, do not anticipate you're in Wave 2 unless you find yourself posting quite a few times and upvoting things in the issue council and being very active. Also, fun fact, from what I heard through the rumor mill, that's often a way to get into Evo, or at least get an offer, is be very active in IC and be very proactive and being very good at helping fix these bugs. And you may be surprised. CIG may reach out, and don't expect it, but it is something that I do know. I have heard from multiple people that's how they got in. So just a thought, I like trying to throw little friendly, helpful reminders to people, especially newer people that may not know these little tricks. And it's not really, I guess it's not really a trick. God forbid you're actually rewarded for, being proactive and helpful and making the community a better place, right? Shucks. Anyway, open PTU. This PTU server and access will be open to all backers with a game package. And unfortunately, they didn't put at the end here, this would be referred to as Wave 3, because that's what it's called often. Wave 3 / all backers is open PTU. So if you were wondering, when I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this, Wave 3, that's what I was talking about, is open PTU, as they call it. And this is a nice little confirmation of what I thought the waves were. I did not realize that Wave 2, this is what I learned, was that Wave 2 has very active and involved people in the issue council. I knew that. I did not know that it was also players with the highest amount of playtime across all active game modes. I thought it was you had to be active on the issue council, and also you had a lot of time into the game. Like over time you were active. The way I'm reading, and you happen to be with the community for a long, years. The way I'm reading this, it's just you're active in recent periods a lot with a lot of the game, any of the game modes. And that's the other surprise. It's not just, oh, we're doing testing on Orison, but people that have been very active in Star Marine or Arena Commander are suddenly going to get invited to the better PTU wave. I mean, that's how it is, though. They have a very wide net for the PTU waves. And honestly, maybe that's a good thing. I've been arguing this entire run through for 3.14 over and over again how important it would be to have more people testing for desyncs. My argument was, if you want desyncs to happen, have more people around. If you have more people around, you'll get more reports. Regardless if they're quality reports, you'll get a lot more reports. And you also have the conditions for those people making the quality reports to be able to catch the things happening. If they're on a dead server with two other people across an entire system, it's going to be very hard for anyone to have any desync issues. And it's also going to be hard for anybody to capture those desync issues. Because, if you're suffering the desync, most of the time you're not going to be able to even get really good data. It's the person who's noticing your ship not moving when you think it is, or the person who's seeing incoming fire from another player or from a PvP experience or PvE experience when there are multiple ships, and they have like a working game where they can record that information and put their QR stamp on there, and then they can submit that to the devs. Like, here's a video of my crew, my org mate, flying around and thinking he's flying around, and he's just sitting still and blew up. That's the type of stuff they need information on. So, okay, covered a lot. Like I said, I'm going to provide links to these two new things. I'm going to provide links to everything, really. And very exciting week coming up. No gameplay this go around. I didn't want to just show you another episode of me leaving Atmo and flying around in circles or trying to do some type of delivery mission or something. I am kind of holding out for lockdown / Xeno threat, or at the very least some box moves for the wonderful people at the CDF at the very least, and showing you some of the progression stuff with the new armor set. I'd love to cover that a little bit. So yeah, and once again, when 3.14 live hits, expect a wave of content, both from me and also Star Citizen. Regardless of what this week in Star Citizen says, you will have a wave of content. It's just that simple. It's just how it works. And that's also not just me and CIG. It would also be the rest of the community covers it very, very well. Also, as I'll leave it finally with this. As Jared pointed out himself, just the last episode of Star Citizen Live, I think it was. Star Citizen Live. He looked right at the camera and he said, "Don't forget, CitizenCon is right around the corner, so we can't talk about everything here." I think that we have to keep that into perspective. There is some missing ships that are rumored to be on the horizon. One starts with a 4 and can carry a G12. At least if you believe the rumors and believe those the sock eating folks. And I'd say that I think they are correct. I think that the ship that must not be named by the person that must not be named, and based on what we're hearing, I think it's in a good spot. This deserves to be mentioned here. Sorry if I'm kind of ham-fisting this, but I think that ship that must not be named will be in a good spot. I do suspect it may be a little later than we expect. I think it'll get teased at CitizenCon Virtual. I think that by the end of the year, they'll get the gold pass out of the 600i series, maybe at least the Explorer, hopefully both the Touring and the Explorer. Remember, it's the module that really needs the most work, and also that back end. If they can really get those two areas done, And even if they leave the cockpit the way it is, even if we all hate it, it's not the end of the world. But the modules desperately need work. But if they can get that interior done to really shine as well as the weapons and the new upgraded shields are on those ships, suddenly you would have a really nice package, and I think the price would go up a little bit. And that would give more room for the ship that must not be named to be put into the lineup. And based on what I'm hearing of a crew of 3 in a ship that has multiple rooms with a lot of utility and a whole rover in there and stuff, with a different cargo bay, at least if the rumors are to be believed from multiple sources. I don't want to go too much more into that, but that's not what I'm into. But I can't help but think it would be a good spot for CIG to kind of push that in, and that would be really the hype. I hate to say this, but the Taurus is not going to be the draw I think a lot of us were, I guess, thinking it was going to be. I think the Taurus is going to be fine. It's going to be adequate for what it is. It's going to shine. It's going to shine when planetary outposts are in. I think a medium class slash large, pushing large size ship of that size, of that capability, that can move 2 Ursa rovers, or heck, 5 ROCs or something like that, or 6, is going to be nuts. It's going to be great. At that specific job where it can kind of cargo hold sometimes, it can do smuggling sometimes, it can do or hide expensive like mining bits while it's moving around the ROCs in the regular cargo hold. If we can confirm that stuff, the shielded cargo does seem to be a go though. There is a second cargo hold literally on its own. And move the rovers, whether they be Ursas, whether they be G12s, whether they be whatever they end up being for your squad, or a bunch of Cyclones, whatever. MTs would probably be your best bet, by the way, out of the Cyclones. The other ones kind of they're just not shining too well. But anyway, I can't help but feel like that the Taurus is not really the big one. And usually for the annual sale, at least for the annual sale, there's a lot of hype built around a small, medium, large concept. They'll usually trot out older ships to kind of fill those gaps, by the way. But usually there's a brand new large or cap ship, or an older ship that they can re-hype or bring it closer to flyable or do something with it to kind of make it exciting again. And then a medium and a small. They like to have that different levels. And it's not always just one of each, by the way, but they have at least usually one of each, kind of to fit each market dynamic. So my suggestion to you is keep your powder dry. If anybody is currently, while you're listening to me, looking at Star Hanger or any of the other websites, don't. If you are looking at your ship upgrades, not that I'm advocating those sites, by the way, if you happen to be on them, if you are looking at the ship upgrade system on the official site, which is far more reliable, and that's probably where you should be looking anyway all the time, but don't. Right after I said that, right? Keep your powder dry. Don't make any major moves. Don't do a lot of major putting anything away either. Just keep everything the way it is, unless you're really not happy with the ship or something. Put it in a buyback or something. But just take stock of what you have. If you haven't already, consider what you would be willing to get to move up, or CCU, or put in a buyback, or what's available to. A lot of times a very basic spreadsheet is a good idea. Yes, there are people who overdo it. Yes, there are people who go crazy with percentages of value and how much they cost per their local money and all these other things. I wouldn't recommend that, but at least some basic level, whether it's just a literal piece of paper or a notepad or an Excel sheet or whatever you want to use, your LibreOffice, whatever. Just make sure you're keeping track of it, because you don't want to make major decisions during a sale. If there's a fruit of the moment, limited edition ship with only 500 for sale or something, which they have done in the past, and they will. I sincerely doubt they're gonna. They never promised not to do it again, and they never like said sorry. They've done it. They'll do it again. They'll do it a bunch of other times. My suggestion to you is heavily, heavily, heavily consider taking stock of your fleet right before major sales, and just go, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get anything, even if you think that way. But if I was, what would be the first thing on the chopping block? What would be the second thing on the chopping block? You do not want to make passionate decisions during a sale. I was just talking with somebody in the chat a few days ago about CCUs. They did not realize if they put something in the buyback, they would lose the CCU. They had an apply to CCU, and I said that's why you don't apply CCUs as much as possible unless the loaner's really, really good and you're excited with it. Like a good example of a good applied CCU is you can apply the Apollo medevac or triage because the loaner's the cutty red. Like it's like there's no downside there, you know. But to whatever ship you're applying them to. But then there's other ships where it just doesn't make any sense. They might cut different ways. They might redesign the ship. The Redeemer's a good example of like it's going to be an amazing ship, but it might not be everybody's cup of tea. Right now the Hurricane's real strong, but I really wouldn't stay in the Hurricane. I would buy that. It's a buy in game type of thing because it probably will get nerfed. Like its health's already probably got nerfed in this last patch, even though we can't tell whether it's up or down. They quote tweaked the health of the ship. So this is kind of like this is kind of an overtime moment here. Yeah, as you haven't if you haven't already could tell, this is kind of like if you're still listening, this is just my general advice for the next few patches, I guess, for CitizenCon, for the big annual sale. Kind of just some general advice. It's just keep your house in order, keep your powder dry, and yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more videos this week. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy these. I love the feedback, by the way. That's the number one thing I really enjoy about these videos is getting the feedback and having those discussions with everybody, whether it's on here or Discord or wherever. And y'all have a great night. Take it easy.